Do you know that there exists a lawful body to represent estate police officers? Are you tired and fed up of poor working conditions, disrespect, and abuse by employers? Then join the Estate Police Association on a new program, the EPA Speaks, Breaking Chains, Raising Barriers, Wednesdays at 11 a.m. on Power 102.1 FM, empowering you, the station that says it all.
All right, and of course it is that time, and the members of the Estate Police Association, they're here. Mr. Richardson is here, and of course he's the head of that association. We got some special guests inside also today. All right, so Mr. Richardson, good morning to you once again.
Good morning to you, Sir Charles. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. All security officers, all estate police officers, all persons out there. We hope you have a safe journey today. I hope you have a productive journey today. And as usual, we are here to share information. As I said, we've done the heavy lifting. We've complained about the conditions under which our officers have to work. And now we are moving to the phase where we are going to be bringing some educational programs to you. And in light of that, and continuing the trend, we would have invited the Ministry of Labour to come and speak to you on a number of issues, your rights as an employer versus the rights of an employee. And today we are pleased again to have them with us. We have Ms. Gomez, the head conciliator, and then we have Ms. Sasha Ramlo-Chansing from the Ministry of Labour, and of course with me, Mr. Tigans, the Public Relations Officer of the Estate Police Association.
Good morning to TNT. Pleasant good morning to all the members of the Estate Police Association. And once again, thanks to the Ministry of Labour and the representative for being here. You know, while we grapple with the deficiencies and the efficiencies in the system, we are hoping that our voices will be heard collectively, even as an association and a general membership, so that we can deal with these deficiencies and the efficiencies that is crippling our industry and the security, as well as the wider security fraternity, which is the national security. They are not without fault by themselves, and we're hoping that the administration that we will use this will listen to us, and even to that extent work towards bridging the gap within these within the industry. So once again, good morning to the whole of Trinidad and Tobago. This is the EPA Speaks, and we are on air till 12.
Right.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. We'd like to thank the EPA for inviting us, and just their extending their program, you know, to treat with issues that affect not only their members but generally, you know, the working population of Trinidad and Tobago. So we'd like to say thank you to the EPA for allowing us this opportunity to speak.
All right, and also like to thank the EPA for inviting us to this program to give us the opportunity to share, you know, basic rights and responsibilities in the workplace, and it will certainly help to empower, you know, both sides, employers and employees likewise.
Right. Well, today we want to pay some attention, as we indicated last week, to the issue of sexual harassment. So we would sort of turn it over to Ms. Gomez. But if there are any other questions on any other matter that you need to raise, feel free again to call when we open the lines. To call at 612-8255 and 222-8255. You could also WhatsApp at 762-0083 or message 762-0083, and we will try as much as possible to raise your issues and get some, if we can get some answers, right? So I just want to put that outside there and move it straight across to Ms. Gomez.
Okay, great. All right, this is I should say a burning issue in Trinidad and Tobago in the workplace. Notwithstanding that we have had many consultations, and you know, this has been a topic that has been, I think we are approaching International Women's Day coming up in March, and where the Honorable Jennifer Batiste Primus would have announced the establishment of a national policy in Parliament I mean, we still things is what is sexual harassment, or how do we define it? So I will go it over, as to any physical, verbal, or non-verbal conduct of a sexual nature. Now, once it affects your dignity of women and men in the workspace, and if it's unwanted, unwelcome, and offensive to the person, and if the person rejects it, um, that is the conduct that we talk about in terms of sexual harassment. Now, in terms of how it affects your job, we talk about, quid pro quo, you do something for me, I do something for you. Some people would use that as an opportunity to get a promotion, or, some benefit that the employer may have. So if you play along and if you play the game, then you will move up. And if you don't, well, you will just stay right there, right? Or sometimes when you rebuff the advances, whether it be an employer, a colleague, it could be a colleague who is below you, higher than you, because it could occur in any situation. So it's not only necessarily one of power. The person, there could be different types of power. The person could be very popular in the organization, and you make the mistake and go to the higher ups and make a report that this situation happened, and then you will feel the brunt coming down on you in terms of your own colleagues, whether male or female. They will then turn on you and like, how dare you go and report on this person is my friend. So you'd find sometimes people taking sides in the organization as to who they will believe, whether or not they want to believe your story, or is your story credible enough. I know this person, I know him personally, he would never do a thing like that. So, and I would say that because in most cases, the majority of cases is male versus female. We may have some, and we have had, same sex, older women, younger women, male to male. We have had instances of that, going all the way even to the industrial court. So it does happen to males, and maybe they probably won't come forth as much to make a report, but I know that it happens in the workspace. Sometimes we may laugh and take it as a joke, but sometimes the men may not be amused. So we need to look at our behavior in the workplace, and if it's not conducive to a productive or working in a safe working environment, then you need to stop it. It is not your home. You're not you're not allowed to come and touch people wherever you feel like it. You're passing by, you come, you lean over the desk and you lean on the person, or you may put your hand around them. We have had the complaints, so we know what it is taking place outside there in the workspace, and you may feel that it's my business and that I could do it. Or you solicit workers, you offer them to pay them the hour. I'll pay you $400. You want to earn $400. These things that are happening in the workspace, and we are getting reports as to what is happening in the workspace. So employers, it's your duty and your responsibility to provide a safe working environment for your staff. You can't have people come into your workspace, they didn't come for that, and you harassing them on the workspace. So there is legislation that is coming, and so we want to sensitize the public. Employers, you have a responsibility to create a policy. You have a designated person who, if something happens on your workspace, that person can go to somebody that is confidential, that as soon as you tell the person, sometimes you go in HR, and as soon as you tell HR, everybody know. You didn't even walk out the door properly, and the entire that is something that, because it's an allegation, somebody may make an allegation against somebody and it hasn't been investigated, and by the time you walk out the door, everybody know that this person, and they say this as a matter of fact, right? It has not been investigated, and that is the role of the employer, right? To investigate something. If there's a complaint, investigate it. hear what the person has to say, listen and listen to the person who's making the complaint, because it's not easy sometimes for somebody to come forward, because then they open themselves to ridicule, humiliation, all these things when they come forward, right? So a worker should not have to go through that in the workspace. Yeah, so those are the two dimensions. You have the quid pro quo, you do something for me and I do something for you. You have the hostile working environment, where you rebuff the individual, and then your life become a living nightmare. You become isolated on the job. They may put you to sit down under the steps, or just take away all the benefits. No, it happens.
Yeah,
They isolate you.
Yeah.
You feel it. When you complain, like how dare you?
And there's the fear for the jobs, eh?
Exactly.
And people play on that.
Exactly.
So somebody, especially in a situation, who needs this job and cannot even afford to even have a suspension, and they put under that kind of pressure, it is something that we hear about and we meet in situations such as this.
And sometimes I feel employers profile workers. They would hire workers. They may not have the educational attainment for the job. So therefore they know they cannot go anywhere else.
Yes.
That is their bread and butter. So, they come in to make a complaint, but yet still they don't want that intervention, that they would lose their job, because if they lose the job, where would they go? Because sometimes when persons come, you want to investigate, like what
Yeah.
have you, what's your, you have any certificates you have, and sometimes it's important when you get a job, to try to reinvest that money into yourself, and then again, sometimes you're on the job and you want to further yourself or better your situation in life, and you would find an employer knowing that you want to study. They will put every block and barrier in your place, like stick to your coming at a lower level. You can't move anywhere, and then sometimes you go for a job and they will say, but how come you haven't done anything to improve yourself? It's because you can't. You're on this job and the employer knows that you want, whether it's, time off, and even if you offer to work back your time, you'll still find that employers put a barrier in your place. So sometimes you're in a no-win situation, and those are the workers, they have the vulnerable ones in the workspace that, we should look out for, and we should, but especially if they don't have a situation where there's an association to represent them or a trade union to represent them, you're basically on your own, right? Yeah, so Sasha, I don't know if you want to come in and say anything.
The thing with employers or managers per se, looking at persons who are soft targets, vulnerable, because they know of their conditions and that they can easily pounce on them because they know that they're prohibited or restricted by some circumstances in their own personal lives, probably family, single mother, and this kind of thing. Now, prevention is better than cure, and I think it is always better that you have systems in place to prevent it than rather allowing it to go, and then the person has to go through the whole system of taking this person through the court and thing to get redress, having a psychological effect on the victim's mind and thing. How admissible is audio recording in the court? Right, for persons who are under these circumstances, and they are better than prevent it from happening. How admissible is audio recordings?
Well, the court has accepted like WhatsApp messages. I mean, everybody's on social media. I mean, there are cases with social media. The rule of thumb is that if you're going to record, well then sometimes you need to inform the person, I'm recording you.
Yes.
Or sometimes it is good, the recording could be used not only in a court, but sometimes I've had a situation where the employer sometimes had everything on videotape. He had where the workers were stealing from him, so there are recordings. Sometimes you go in an establishment and you're not aware, but there's a camera recording, And so sometimes, you will be saying one thing, but, sometimes the employer could come and say, well, look, my place has a video recording, right? So if it's that and it's for security reasons and you're denying that this happened, and you could go and pull back up the security footage and see. So I think we're the age where information is there. I mean, social media, things go out on social media, and even with that, we have to be so careful because there are judgments dealing with social media, like
Yes,
posting on Facebook.
Yeah.
And now we have had disputes with Facebook where persons actually got dismissed, or for postings that they would have made. So if you have a recording of the person, especially where the person, during the investigation stage, and the person denied that they ever said this, and you could put a recording and say, but look, I have you, where you are saying this. So them having confessed that, look, this never happened. And then so it goes to the credibility of the person. So even before it reaches the court, there has to be an investigation. So we would assume that, you come with clean hands, and if you had the recording and when we were doing the investigation, why didn't you present it at that point in time? Because it's not in a court setting, it's an investigation. And you're hearing the person after you give the person an opportunity to say, well, okay, yes, I did it, and I'm sorry, I didn't know that. You give the person an opportunity, and if they keep on denying it and making you out to be a liar, and you have a recording, of course you'll play that recording, right? To justify your position, because everything goes to credibility, because the person would say, when you're in a work environment, especially where you work for a number of years, you would have built relationships, and sometimes either A or nay would say, well, I know this person is my personal friend, he wouldn't do such a thing, or she wouldn't say such a thing. I mean, that exists in the workplace, but like I said, we have had cases where WhatsApp messages, people would send messages, and those messages were used, to as part of the evidence to terminate. So people have to be careful when they're sending WhatsApp messages, because then you're looking at 10 o'clock in the night. This is your co-worker, and you're sending a work colleague, and you're sending messages. You look at what time the messages went out. Could you wait until normal working hours to send those messages out? Even if you have to send the messages, is it something that pertains to work that you could not wait? So I mean, you look at the contents, and then sometimes when people bring cases of sexual harassment, and all the WhatsApp messages would have come out, and then you look at the trend of the conversation and say, okay, is this person leading the person on? Because at some point you may have given the person some sort of belief that you were going along with it. So sometimes you're looking at the conversation, because you have to look at it both ways, right? And then if somebody is culpable in terms of the type of messages that you were sending back, right? And then if you decide, well, okay, I'm no longer interested, and then you want to claim that you are, you're being sexually harassed, but then you also have to look at your content. What did you send back messages to the person?
One of the things that is widely asked about this whole issue of sexual harassment is actually, what are the messages? What are the triggers that you would consider to be inappropriate, suiting, sweet eye, a number of things. Men say that there's the cultural norms, that they are scared of doing now, because they don't know how it will be construed.
I think we hide a lot of things behind cultural, it's our culture. When did it become a culture? We mean it's our culture. You understand? That's what we do, you know. And does it make it right? So, if I don't like it, I say I don't like it. It might go by Jane, and it might do Jane, and Jane loves it.
Right.
But then, when you come by Mary don't like it at all.
So just like the issue with rape, as you say, no or stop, then that is what you need to do.
And
so
then you have to look at, now it's carnival season, and you have to look at all these work functions.
Yeah.
And what goes on in work functions, you might as well,
The dynamics. So this is why this particular initiative for the sexual harassment needs to be widely
Yeah,
widely
and why,
circulated.
it's important that we use forums like these to discuss, because when legislation comes, it will change.
The
Our
whole
culture will then
yes,
become different,
yeah,
right? Because all the things that we accustomed doing and feel it normal, it is not your home when you go out to work. Employers feel that, that they can, not only employers really, I shouldn't really say employers, because we have employees who um, are perpetrators, that your workspace is your home, it is not your home. You don't have ownership to persons that you could touch, a worker once explained to me that she works in this restaurant, and they would pass and brush her by her breast, and these are foreign workers, but if
yes,
they get encouragement from the management, that it is okay that they can do that, they can come in your country and do that. So, I mean, we should have, I mean, it's not good for locals to do it, but not good for foreigners to come in the country and feel that they
yes,
can,
yeah, they can.
misappropriate our goodwill in giving them a work permit to come here to work.
Now, I don't know, we can't probably go into what the legislation will entail until that has been debated and being in the parliament. But we've had this issue concerning, well, men that we speak to. Now, we are this industry is highly populated by women, and we've had a number of complaints such as sexual harassment, is what a touch, same thing. Then we've also, when we've investigated a number of them, in some places, we found that women actually were starting these conversations, and when it took further root, then probably if they didn't get what they wanted out of the particular thing, so that they will want to probably to go to a particular post which is easier, a posting which is easier, and then you find out the person makes this big allegation. And once an allegation of sexual harassment is made against a male, as you say, it takes root quite quickly. So what is envisaged concerning the punishment or the penalties for persons who making those allegations which ultimately prove to be false?
All right. Well, in any situation, you will have, because you're dealing with human beings,
Yes.
right? And you can have allegations that are false, right? Once it is investigated and found to be, false allegations, well then, I expect the legislation would, in terms of fines for false allegation and for not investigating the matter, those are serious things. So that is why it's imperative that, we sensitize persons, so that you would not find yourself into that category, because, the law would be meant to be a deterrent.
Yes.
Right. So therefore, when it's a deterrent, you look at all these motor vehicle traffic laws that are coming and all these demerits.
The demerit points.
Right. So that is meant to be a deterrent.
So,
So it is something like that. It is meant to be a deterrent. So we would not expect it to be light, but it's something that would deter.
But
I should say this.
the reality is that someone will argue that we have legislations in place, right, already, that's supposed to act as deterrent, but people are still violating these legislations. And you have just called, when we look at the demerits, even with the alcohol, the, what do they call it? Drink. No,
Alcohol abuse.
drinking and driving, the legislation, and people are still doing it. Now the thing is
Right,
that,
but they're being held before the courts.
right. So, does it really act as a deterrent, or because persons, you're still seeing a proliferation of these things taking place? What happens is that the legislation there as a measure in strict to prosecute you after you commit the offense, but we have realized that this legislation, people like they just throw a blind eye to these legislation, commit the offense because they tell themselves in Trinidad and Tobago they can do things and get away with it easily.
Well, all right. If you find that, okay, but the legislation is being enforced, because when you go to the courts, you see, sometimes, when, you have a big fete or something, you see lots of people from all walks of life in the courtroom for failing a breathalyzer. So the law is being enforced, and I think any law in a country is enforcement is important. Things might not happen overnight, right? And if you find that the enforcement is not, the law is, citizens are not adhering, then maybe the punishment might be too lenient or the fines may be too lenient, and that's why you're always good. But it is good that the laws are being enforced, and when you have laws, you have to enforce it. And if you enforce them and the deterrent is strong and the penalty is strong enough and robust, then it will further cement that point that, hey, this should not be tolerated. Because I always mention this point, persons didn't used to wear seatbelts a long time. Now everybody buckling up, right? So the law is being enforced. It takes time, but we're gonna get there.
Now, the issue of the employer and what is the body that may be for let's say an employer who sexually harasses his employee? Who does that person refer to?
Well, if it is the owner of the business, well, then you need to go outside.
Yes.
Right? Because there's nobody there for you to respond to. So you need to go outside and, get a third party, even a trade union, and try to report the matter. Or, be looking at the legislation that, will be coming, and see whether or not, the individual could have that opportunity either to go through a trade union or to come forward individually. That is, being worked on. So the legislation will be open to, it will address every situation, not only in the workspace, but, in other spaces, because we have sexual harassment in entertainment, especially coming up with Carnival and all of that. Those entertainers need to be protected. You have a lot of female entertainers. You have, so that is a whole different arena. Then you have sports, what goes on in the sporting arena. So it's not only that what we consider our physical space, but when you go outside to, there are other physical spaces that things happen, and, if we're doing something, it has to be on a holistic level, and citizens must feel comforted that, okay, they're in a country, and the state is looking after their needs in terms of addressing the needs of the society at a particular point in time.
So, well, being part of a whole labor organization, and having the responsibility to negotiate contracts, agreements, in fact, we now have to move to the phase where we will have to now put clauses into our agreements, which would speak to things. So that is something that we have to work on. As a matter of fact, we've given the instruction that all new agreements, all agreements that we are engaged in, must have this sexual harassment clause, and work with the employers to have those policies enacted in line with what is coming with the law.
Because looking back, we looked at collective agreements, when we are preparing the drafting the policy document, and as far back as 2008, there are collective agreements which spelled out definitions of sexual harassment. So some trade unions, were ahead of us, ahead of the game, in that they're very comprehensive articles in their collective agreements that deal with not only sexual harassment but HIV and AIDS in the workspace, because that is still another issue. How persons are treated. We still having just up to we still having that discussion, that discrimination that takes place, and how person and what that tells us, that the citizenry, that communication is not coming out to them, because you don't want to isolate somebody and humiliate them because you find out that somebody gossip and somebody say something, and that's the whole issue of confidentiality in the workspace. Especially within established organizations, you still have this. So Now, something you want to touch on about your workspace. Now, a person say, well, okay, if we outside of work, then, maybe I could,
Yeah.
I can make a move,
Right.
know.
So you leave the building, after 4. Yeah.
You're working.
Yeah.
But that is if you're working from home.
Sasha, let's first after 4. After 4, Sasha. Let's this round no chance. Let's see.
All right, so the workspace is not necessarily limited to the building or the physical facility that we might work in, but more where business activity is conducted or work-related functions.
Okay.
So it is possible that certain types of behaviors would not be acceptable in that space either.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know our young lady came and it happened in the vehicle. They went to a function and she's driving back, offered to drop her home in the vehicle, and then he started the conversation. You have a boyfriend, just basic question that she found was getting too personal, and she said, well, no, this is too personal, or sometimes we have lots of outside activity, we're invited, and it can happen. It's not, and they would say, well, okay, I can take the liberty now because we're outside of work, but it could be a work-related function. Outside of the ministry could be a retreat. All these things happen when you go on retreats. I don't know, people just go crazy. It's like, a different world outside when you go on retreat.
More relaxed, so everybody just,
everybody just go crazy.
Well, I want to encourage people to call in. I think Charles said some callers on board.
Yeah, we can take your calls, people. The lines are open. You've been listening to the discussion. And if you would like to contribute to it and maybe you get more information, you probably are going through the situation that we're talking about. Now's a good time for you to be part of the program. So you can call us at 222-8255, 612-8255. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Ms. Gomez, in terms of, you made reference to 2 persons in a vehicle and this type of thing, right? Now, picture someone who is interested in a young lady, genuinely interested in a young lady. The questions posed to her may not be one that will constitute sexual harassment, like asking her if she's involved with somebody, but if it is that she responds in a way to say, hey, what's happening, you're going too far. I could understand that. Right, there's where you have to stop. But when do you actually reach that point where you can say sexual harassment because somebody may be genuinely interested in someone?
If it's no, like I think we made that point where we in the ministry we have had many marriages, and up to date the marriages last, and they came out of persons meeting each other in the workspace.
Let me just interrupt you for one moment, please. Let me just take this call. Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Okay, good morning.
Well, you see in Trinidad, it have a lot of technicalities. Because I know a young man in a place I used to work came to work early one morning. He had a kind of a relationship with a young lady. I don't know for sure. But what happened was, when the officer alone and the 2 of them were making out, another female came in there and observed what they was doing. And next thing you know, the young lady called rape. Now, people in the company were saying, now, if the young lady didn't see them in the act, the guy would have still been employed. You understand? So she called rape, and that was it for him. You understand? And everybody knew that they had a thing for each other, and they probably took a chance in the workplace, which was wrong in my definition. So there's 2 big people, and that was it for the guy, and I think that was very unfortunate, because sometimes in the workplace, as a man, it has happened to me, where the female will grow up. You understand?
Yeah.
I experienced that, and I just like brush it off, and actually the same young lady, you understand? Things were happening there, and I was just like, I didn't take it on. I just didn't go in the affirmative with her. I just let she do whatever she wants, and I took whatever it is, and I said, I part for the cause. You understand? So things that happen in the workplace, but it is always at a huge disadvantage for the man. Because if I go and tell my supervisor, XYZ person group me, and got me aroused and broke me again. So I just leave it as that. You understand? There's a little attraction wherever, and I leave it so. I mean, pursue nothing. You understand? But sometimes in the workplace, the women have all the say. You understand? Because another instance, a young lady always looking at me, looking, like if she tracking me. I mean, take one young lady, and when I can't take it no more, I say, what exchange number? Because I want to deal with the situation outside the work environment. She say, sexual harassment. All I say is, can I have your number so we can be better friends? Right? Because you want it, every time I raise my head at my desk, you looking at me. You understand? I said, well, like this girl wants to take it to the next level. I don't know what's going on for months, you know. I just stay in the corner, I batten in my crease. But the minute I open my mouth and say, you want to exchange numbers to be better friends, means say for a man, means say to have relations, nothing, eh? All I say is better friends. She was sexual harassment. Talk to her about that.
I call it. Thanks very much.
Well, right. Conduct of a sexual nature. Right. So if your conduct was of a sexual nature, like if you say, well, I want a number because I want to meet you outside or something like. But if you just say, okay, you can have your number, well, that may not be what is considered sexual harassment. But we just hear one side of it. We, and like I said, there are two sides to every story. We don't know that what went on with that. Give me a number prior. We don't know the history because sometimes there's a history, and of what we are not privy of. So maybe if we hear the other side, maybe we'll get to give a whole picture of what happened. Now, in case of what happened, what you explained, the first scenario. Now, I would hope that any employer with meeting that situation where the two persons were found out, because we know what takes place in the workspace, during early hours when people ask to work flexi time and come early in the morning to work, and they find themselves doing other things other than the employer's work. And when they're caught, they make the cry of rape, but that's sort of old. So we would have the expectation is that the employer would have done a proper investigation in the matter. He gets written submissions from both parties, and then do a proper evaluation as to what the issues really were and whether it was a case of sexual harassment or rape or not. Because not in every instance is where rape is cried out when persons are found out that is acceptable. And if both parties were doing something that they weren't supposed to do and they were caught out,
our case and everything. But when two persons married to become one, and the Bible tells you the only time that they should separate from each other is if it's fasting or if maybe she's seeing her flowers. Other than that, your body belongs to me and my body belongs to you. How come the sexual harassment thing coming into married people now? Right? So I'd like you to answer that for me, please.
All right. Thanks very much, caller.
well, I don't think the terminology is sexual harassment. It doesn't fall under, even if it's your spouse and that person is forced into something, that wouldn't constitute sexual harassment. That may go, sexual assault, or that may come under the sexual offenses of the person, actual sexual offenses, not sexual harassment. We're still trying to come up with legislation, but as it is now, there's no legislation in Trinidad to really treat with sexual harassment per se as on a standalone issue, right? So that's what we're working on right now.
There's also I think they rely mostly on, there's a case judgment coming out from English law R versus R, it was determined that under English law, it is possible for a husband to rape his wife once it is unconsented sexual intercourse. So yes, there is a judgment on that, and that is what local legal minds rely upon on those cases.
No is no.
Well, basically whatever it is. So,
No is no gun slip.
as we go, where the law moves away from the religious interpretations, we will get those situations arise. If you read the Bible tells you one thing, and then we interpret it the other way. And so there are a number of things
the
that
Bible never tell you that they can force somebody.
Yeah, well, that was the interpretation.
He want to force us to do
yes, to do
anything.
anything.
He give us free will. Right? So
he's interpreting the fact that he said that two become one and this and that, and so he's interpreted that way. The interpretation at the end of the day, you interpret it or you interpret the Bible, it's how you take it and how you interpret what it is. Yeah.
We are no longer chatting.
Free will.
Hello, good morning, caller.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
This, Sir Charles?
Hoy.
Oh, this is Barbara.
Hi, Barbara.
I enjoyed that program.
Okay.
Yes. You see, everybody don't love nobody. And if we have love in us, we ain't bringing in all those sort of things. Something displease you, say, listen, you're going too far and let us cool down. That's all. But you this sort of a long sort of thing, husband and wife and all them things. We had to get out of them thing and bring in natural love. Okay, so Charles?
Okay, no
thanks
problem.
for listening to me.
Thank you very much. Good to hear you.
Simple and nice.
Natural love.
Yes, natural love. You see it now with there, you don't want it. See it one time. Listen, you're going too far. Let me stop. But as we go along, you see, the questions that I've heard concerning, because when we indicated that we're dealing with the sexual harassment thing, we got a number of people who don't want to, so they would call me before the program, and there was the same issue of what it is we spoke about the cultural thing, but I think we need to define this verbal versus non-verbal. What are the things that you will advise that are not?
We had some things that we put down in the policy, like catcalling somebody, sometimes passing and brushing against somebody.
Yes.
You lean over the person at the desk, you lean over on them, or you just come in a friendly way and put your hand around them, pinching somebody, you walk and you pinch them, there are a whole different scenarios. Then you can WhatsApp somebody, you could send different type of emojis to them, that's the whole sexual harassment and social media.
So it's more about not what you do, but how you do it.
Exactly, and then sometimes you may it's the suggestion behind the words, the tone that you would use to discuss. You may come up behind somebody and whisper in the air something that you could speak to them face to face. And I think one of the things that we put in the policy is that having a personal space. Right, because sometimes you ever had this thing where you're conversing with someone, and they coming up closer to you, and you step back, and they keep coming forward, and the more you step back, they keep coming forward, So, you must have your personal space, and we went through, I think that's what we put in, because we kind of like that. They had, like, what is your personal space, and a friend zone, intimate zone, different types of zones that you have. So sometimes you're having a conversation with somebody, especially in a business setting, and to keep your space.
Hello, good morning, caller.
Good morning to the panel. So Charles,
Hi.
I think I said something in a conversation like this already. I find people carrying this thing too fast, because for me, if you get out of line or a man come up in your face and he getting too close, I push you off. Or hit you a bloody buck. What it is with this, I went to America and I find everybody so cold, like men afraid to talk to women. Nobody to call you on the street. You know, you're walking down the road and as if you're not there. I said, but what is this? What kind of country is this?
Yeah.
Nobody ain't talking to nobody. Everybody afraid to talk to. But hell no, I like a man to trouble me a little bit. I find you know one, but when you're going too far left, you know it.
That's
and
all.
if I'm not telling you, if you feel you want to do it silently, I will loud you up in the office.
Yeah.
So you know, all this thing and to make a case and write upon this and take people to court, nonsense. But settle that for yourself.
All right. Okay.
In some cases, a matter of choice and preferences.
No,
You know.
some people could do that if you have the personality to do it because
Yes.
there was a young
Yes.
girl who came in the office.
Good morning.
Yeah, 1 minute, caller. Go ahead. Listen.
I told her this, but she couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Somebody
Couldn't
had to
stand up for
bring her
herself,
into
yeah.
the office. She couldn't stand up for herself. I didn't want to go the formal route, so I said, okay, you know what? Go back to the office, carry posters. I give her posters. I give
All
her
right, I have
brochures,
plenty money on
so
my
she will
phone.
give it out.
All right.
You
okay.
know.
Go ahead, caller.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, morning.
Morning.
I want to put a spin on thing because I know because I'm calling in, but I listen to the program as a man. This program making me feel sick. listen to me. I find men don't talk.
That's
That's
correct.
number one. And all you have men on the program there and I hardly hearing anything from the man. Why things should happen? They must pass legislation that when you live in a house with woman and woman that want to give sex, you could take them to court. And I want
That's
to
beyond us,
men,
sir.
Yeah, but
thank God for Spanish because when these women give me these kind of problems, we have alternatives. And listen to me too. I find everything does always go towards the men. Men always in the wrong. I have a serious problem with that. Why do women not think about doing what they're supposed to do rather than bringing up these kind of issues? You know when you're married, you're supposed to be submissive to your husband anytime, any hour. I wouldn't say anyway, any place. I wouldn't stretch it to that. But women losing the sense of value, they're looking at men now as sperm donors. And once you're giving these women these kind of powers, like what that lady articulated during the program this morning, they give them an inch, they take a yard, and they just keep stretching. Man have rights too. And I find more men should come out and talk. Women know the thing in the house is to wash, cook, iron, and you know the fringe benefits that goes along with it. So get out of this company. You fall in love, you're married, do what you're supposed to do. Don't complain. You notice now you hardly see wedding and thing around? The things that this lady bringing up here is what's killing that today. But anyway,
All right.
let somebody else call.
nice. Okay, thanks very much, caller.
Could I reiterate that this is a workplace issue?
Not in
We are
the home.
talking about on the work, Mr. Gentleman. This is not related to marital issues, right? This is you come to work and what happens in the workspace, all right? So we can clarify that.
Yeah.
So
Two different
callers,
things.
it's a two
That
two
was just a
different topics.
sidebar.
We're not getting into married people business, right? So this is dealing with the workspace. You come to work and what happens in the work, all right?
Great. Morning, caller.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First, let me say, although the conversation is about work, some of the issues are general, because there is a total bias against males. And a former psychiatrist, well, he has since died, Harry Maraj, we had plenty debates when they were discussing the Domestic Violence Act. And he warned that we will see more violence against women because of that. And I used to take a position opposite to him until afterwards I came around. Now, in terms of the workplace, I been in a supervisory position in the Ministry of Education. A gentleman, his wife came in and made some complaints to me about certain things. And when I checked out the information she gave me, a lot of it was correct. You know, this young lady being the clerk in the office, the secretary, wanted this gentleman to accompany her here, there, and everywhere. A lot of it was done when I was outside the office. And when I came up with the fact, I approached my senior officer and I had her removed and sent back into Port of Spain because she came to work in my office, which was closer to, to our place of residence. I was in the Chabonas area. And I have experienced a lot of bias against men with these accusations of sexual harassment in the workplace. Women do it freely. And the bad thing about it is the men support the women, and men don't feel supported. You go to the police station to make a complaint and they laugh at you. They laugh at you. You men have been laughing a while ago with what the other gentleman was saying, and that's what we men do. We laugh when other men are in crisis, and we save. The whole thing is in favor of women. And I agree with him, the last caller. It's one of the reasons why now we are seeing fewer marriages. And as we have all the immigrants coming in, it's going to get even worse. And Trinidad women are going to find themselves in a position where they're not going to get married in Trinidad. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Well, I wanna address this. The issue of this thing is a sexual harassment, and even if we have to bring that into the home, as you're somebody called us trying to do. Listen, as a father, as the president, somebody who has persons under him, friends, aunts, uncles, nieces, I'm going to say this. You do not want to have your child, your daughter, your cousin, your sister, anybody in any situation where they feel harassed. And this is what it is about. This is about sexual harassment. If someone feels that the advances that this person is making is appropriate and they want to receive it, then that is all well and good, right? So there is no issue. We laugh because of the way the person put it across. If a man feels the same sexual harassment policy, if a man feels so harassed, he can go to his employer. We do know that as you say, that people laugh at it because men generally don't do it. Men think, and let's be fair, men think that when they are being sexually harassed, that it's an ego thing, it's a macho thing, right? So unless a person is putting some undue pressure on them, they find that, okay, you're going too far, my religious beliefs may be as such, so I don't want to get involved in this, and they do have the same power to say, listen, stop it, right? So I hear the men, because I'm saying, if you listen from the start of the program, we raised the issues that the men were bringing as to the fact that these women have all this power under this thing, and they raised those issues earlier on in the program, right? But as I said, and I will hold to that I do not want my daughters or my friends or anyone, any friend, anybody, to be in a situation where they feel sexually harassed. Okay?
Nice.
Thank you very much.
Now, the other thing that we were careful, even when we were drafting the policy, that it is not about women. And we said anything that affects the dignity of men and women in the workspace, right? So men, now we're in a different environment, things that men probably would take a while back, because men will no longer be able to take it, because men do get sexually harassed on the job, and if they don't like it, they don't like it. But now we have an avenue where they can come forward and say, hey, this is happening to me on the job and I don't like it. And they're quite welcome to come and lodge a complaint or to take up the matter if they feel that it's affecting them on their workspace. Because sometimes it doesn't matter, we're all human beings and nobody's to be treated less than on the job. So it's not about women bashing men, because we wouldn't want to do that in society, because we respect the men in the society, right? And the contribution that they make to the home, because traditionally men are the breadwinners. And you find that sometimes it's a little bit skewed now, but we do respect men in the society and what they, their role and their function in society. It hasn't changed, right? So this is something to help somebody, because if you see persons who are helpless in the workplace, and not everybody, as that female caller said, that they could hit them or deal with it, because
allow them up.
some people can't do
They
it,
don't have that
and
personality.
and that's why I said on the onset, some people are selected. They may come from the countryside, they're very quiet
Exactly.
and meek in the workplace, and that is the worker who the employer wants, because he knows she wouldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
The educational attainment is low, so they will do everything they can to protect the job. So we don't want people to lose jobs. We want to address a situation. So that's why forums like these are important. You know, there are persons on the outside who are perpetrators, and there are certain behaviors that are not conducive to the workplace.
Let's see if we can take this caller. Hello, good morning.
Hi, Sir Charles. So
Steve.
much interested, timely discussion. I must say thanks. Now, I believe one of the reasons why persons are sexually harassed at work is because of their individual deportment, how they dress, how they interact with co-workers. Are they respected? Look, I retired over 5 years, and up to now, persons still call me mistress. They don't call me by my name because of how I deported myself at work. So that says a lot, because some of the young people today, they are marketing themselves for harassment based on how they dress for work. So they got to look at that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. No. The issue of is a to me, and I'm going to speak to me as Derek Richardson, your person. To me, the issue is, listen, even in the workplace or anywhere a woman feels empowered to wear what she feels comfortable enough to wear. But that does have certain responsibilities to go with it, because we do know that the way a woman presents herself and dresses it sends certain signals and triggers to the males. And there's this instinct that people speak about, instinct and all of that, that does trigger that thing. So that is something that people need to but we need to be aware of, but we also need to be aware of our responsibility to act responsibly in the way in manner in which we interact with each other. So even if you think that a woman is dressing sexily and you think that she's showing them more boobs, and so you will see it. You would see it, because sometimes it's there. You can't not look at it. It's there.
You put it outside.
But it's how you deal with that situation, how you approach that person may be the defining factor upon which she lays a claim for sexual harassment, or she says, listen, I'm ready to go out with you or something. But we need to be mindful of each other's space. We need to be mindful of our responsibilities to each other and to ourselves. Right?
But as we get ready to close, because we're almost out of time. But as the lady quite rightly said, I mean, you know how you put yourself outside here is how you attract certain things that come, like in the climate that we live in right now. I ain't putting on no gold chain and walking downtown. You know, how do you all see that situation? You know, as far as when people come to you to say, well, I've been sexually harassed, but then when you look at all of these things, persons might be just being fighting that sort of situation.
Well, I know that it could happen, because when we did consultation in Tobago, you know, that was one of the issues that were raised in terms of having a dress code at work. But when you interview persons who sexually harassed in the workplace, you know, some of them are married women, mature women, they come in all ages, and when you look at them, it's not that they were dressed in any way to attract attention. Right. There was a young lady who came in, and, you know, I mean, she was sexually harassed by an older woman on the job. Say from the time she came in by the receptionist desk to assume position, the woman saw her and pursued her relentlessly. Right? So
we have to bring you back to talk all these things.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm going to say.
We have to do another part again, Mr. Richards.
Yes, and I'm now going to say that to ask Ms. Gomez on air this time again. Next week, Wednesday, same place, same time.
We didn't hear much from
you.
Might be here for a while.
We'll be here next week again. Right? I want to thank you again, once again, Ms. Gomez, for coming, and to thank the listeners for calling in. And we'll be here again next week.
All right. Well, we want to thank you for just having us here to just share what is government's policy, you know, for the workspace. And we really appreciate persons calling in. We appreciate all your comments and everything that you have to say.
All right. News is straight ahead.